It's a pleasure to welcome Hilary Stark into the studio today. Hilary is the founder of Stark Naked, where she serves as a relationship and embodiment guide, helping people take off the masks of perfection, protection, and performance, and to reconnect to their bodies. Hilary, thank you for joining me today. Thanks for driving down.
Absolutely. Thanks.
And little does anyone, actually no one knows, this is our second recording.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you reached out before I posted that episode, because you really wanted to make sure that there's an accurate depiction of what you do. And in the first recording, that we covered a lot of great stuff, but it was more Q&A, and that isn't what you do. You are one that is here to help people reconnect to themselves and reconnect to their partner. And it's difficult to express or show what that is just through answering a question. And so today's episode, we are going to do it a little differently than I've done in other episodes, where you're going to guide me through certain aspects of what it means to work with you and what that can look like. Obviously, we're under a time crunch and restraint, so we won't go into as many avenues as we possibly could if we were in a session.
Yeah.
But I think this will give people a good taste as to what it means to sit down with you and be in session, what you're hoping to help individuals gain through your, not just them asking questions and you telling what to do, but you're literally sitting with them, showing them and working through breath work and connecting and showing them different ways that they are able to be a different life force and energy force in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And the few sessions I've done with you privately have been really helpful, because it's so nice to have a different approach to a coach or a therapist, even though you're not considered one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so nice to have an experience that I can take home and then apply in my day-to-day life, versus think about it, talk about it intellectually, but now I don't really have the grounding of, well, what was it that we talked about? Like, I was shown it and I experienced it in the session. And so that was really helpful.
Yeah.
The 4 topics that you discussed with me beforehand that you would like to address based off of the needs of your clients, both men and women, are attunement, safety, the observer versus the judge, and the 4th one is see, feel, and hear.
Mm.
Let's start with number 1, attunement.
Okay.
What does that look like in a session? Can we
Yeah.
do a role play here?
Yeah. Well, by definition, my Tantra teacher says attunement is to see, feel, and hear, like attune, feel into what someone is saying or feeling behind the mask or the persona, or how they're presuming, right? We've got a lot of programs around how we're supposed to show up in life, in relationships, in parenting. And so attunement is one of my favorite practices. Is how I open all my spaces with my clients.
And when you say open up your spaces, your sessions, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Open up session. Yeah. I often will call it let's drop in. So if you're open to experiencing.
Yes and yes.
And for those of you listening, you can easily follow along doing this if you're sitting and listening, or in your car. Obviously, don't close your eyes if you're driving. So what I invite you to do first is just close down your eyes. And we'll just start by coming into presence with the breath. So we're taking a big belly breath in through the nose, and then relaxing down. Twice as long out the mouth. The art of attuning is starting to see, feel, and hear what's going on internally. So just coming back to your breath. And most people want to stay in their head. So if you can focus below the neck, into the belly, into the heart, we're starting to come into slowness, into presence, into a grounding approach of bringing the energy out of the head, down into the heart, into the body. And once you've attuned with yourself, you're starting to notice your thoughts, sensations, senses, feelings, emotions. It's just kind of like a check in to what am I noticing with my energy, with my projections, my thoughts, my beliefs, seeing through my lens. And then as you open eyes, you can do a tuning deeper with noticing the room. Is it more present? Are things obvious that you didn't notice before?
I could feel more of I'm in my head a lot.
Uh-huh.
And so reconnecting to my body is a practice that I'm getting used to and very new at. And so getting acquainted and maybe reacquainted with what it's like to be below my head. And so this was, I could feel almost a vibration or a sense of aliveness of some sort, maybe life force energy that some
Uh-huh.
people might
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
that is apparently always there, but I'm not connected or aware that it's there. And so, um, and also I find for myself, when I close my eyes, I'm a very visual person. So when my eyes are open, I, I'm back in my head, I feel like. So when I close my eyes, I am able to actually sense more of those sensations and experience more of myself versus when my eyes are open, I'm taking in so much information that I can be easily then distracted and back into thought.
Mhm.
Um, but I hope that with practice that'll change.
So that's where you can take it a step deeper when your eyes are. And the reason I tell people to close their eyes down is because a lot of people don't know their selves or their home frequency or their energy. They're not aware of like, can I be in my body and be in my head at the same time and simultaneously taking on all that's around me? So then if you take it one step deeper, where you can start to make it that practice of when you're with clients or when you're out with strangers or with family or your wife, you can just take that breath with eyes open and it brings you right back into your body. Deep breath in, exhale down. And most times when your eyes are open, you'll start to what I call front body, where we just notice everything around us or in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So practice is deeper attuning is to bring the energy behind your back and just imagine like breathing from behind your shoulder blades or even down by your belt line. Like I have my own back, letting myself into the experience and then attune through yourself. So if you're noticing me, deep breath in,
Oh, my eyes closed.
exhale, open. And then the deeper art of attunement is can I stay present with noticing myself, my triggers, my energy, my responsibility, my awareness, while simultaneously noticing you. And it's just bringing it back to take a breath. Open, leave it there. There you go. Exhale down. You notice it immediately brings you back to kind of notice yourself. So I often will just say, just take some deep breaths throughout the day, multiple times a day. We get front body going and doing and giving to everyone else. And it's like, okay, let me come behind my own back, let myself in. And how can I receive as equally as I'm giving and doing and front bodying?
I remember you mentioning having your own back in our private sessions and how much that I enjoyed that because I'd never really thought of it in that way where, yeah, we are, or at least myself, is so focused on what I can either do or get from something out in front of me versus actually sitting back and relaxing into myself, into the support that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And so it was just a different framework that I've have forgotten, but thank you for
Yeah.
reminding me.
Yeah. And if I think about like a divine masculine, or I mean, I hate to use that word, but it's like a common word in the conscious community, divine masculine, or like what is this embodied man, right? But if I think of the energy of masculine energy, not making it woman or man gender, I'm just talking about a divine masculine energy per se. It is something that I experience as like big and grounded and present and attentive and heart-centered and like strong. So when I bring that energy behind my back, it's like I'm bringing in my own divine masculine energy where I can kind of sink into. And then it does allow us to slow down and open and kind of just be with what is instead of rushing to the next thing. It does force me to kind of take a seat back. It opens up my heart. It softens my belly.
I like it too. The times I do remember in amongst the day where it's almost a posture reset too.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, ooh, I'm closed off, or I'm not standing up very well, and so to pause and to then take that deep breath or a few deep breaths, it allows for me to kind of rise back up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and pay attention to how I am conducting myself in my day-to-day tasks and whatnot that can be completely overlooked.
Yeah. And I'll notice too, when I tend to do it, like, because I get front body with you guys in session and I'll start leaning forward and I'm actively listening and I'm engaged and I'm like reading and tuning in and thinking while you guys are sharing. And so I'll find myself even more so now doing that. Like literally, I'll lean back into the chair and sit back. And then I kind of notice like it does, you guys kind of will pause or soften, or it kind of shifts your energy. So I think if people are aware of other people, then once we shift, it automatically kind of invites them to maybe check in or shift if they notice. So the attuning is not just a practice of self, it's a practice of the other person. So it's being mindful of not just well, you're doing this and you need to stop that. And he does this and she does that. It's an art of like, let me invite myself into this experience. So I'm noticing that she is doing this and this, but how am I responding or triggering or projecting or reacting to what's happening? So it's an intro guide into like the deeper mirror work that we do in Tantra space, with seeing everyone outside of us being a mirror and where we're projecting our lens or our stories or our desires or what we need to get, right? And coming back to, well, they're doing this, but how do I have control or power or ownership over the part I'm playing? Or do I want to shift the way I'm seeing this? How can it work for me instead of to me?
So more awareness is what kind of I'm gathering.
And not just from the mind, but the body, right? So you're bringing in like all senses. It's like, because our body is where it feeds our guide to when we're triggered or when we're unsafe or when something's a yes or a no. If we're listening down here, oftentimes the answer is there, but we're so busy in our head that we're not actually knowing, like, ooh, I felt like this when he said that, or I felt this when she did that. But then we want to overanalyze or talk ourselves out of it. And it's like the body is truly the vessel, the channel. Like it doesn't lie. The energy doesn't lie. So yeah, there's a little attunement practice.
And you do that with each client? I know you did it with me.
Yeah, I do it with all my clients when I open space. And then I invite them as a homework. Like, this is a practice I want you guys to use frequently, whether you're attuning to yourself, like readjusting your posture or alignment in the grocery store line, or whether you're frustrated with your children, or you're triggered by your partner, or you're just going about your day and you've just noticed you've been in like fight and flight and go mode, and you need to like reconnect and drop in, attune, resettle. And then I will ask my clients, if I'm working with them, especially if we're in couples work, I'll sit and have them do this in space together, where like they're feeling themselves as much as they're feeling the other person. Because oftentimes in relationship, we're constantly projecting or wanting to control or blame or judge or whatever them. And when they can come back to themselves and be like, oh, okay, I see how I'm playing a part here. but I also see where I can be empowered here. And here's how I can shift. And then I can watch her shift or watch him shift. And then together the work doesn't just become that we've been in therapy for 6 or 8 months or a year and nothing's working. And they come to me 2, 3, 4 months and they've made waves of progress that they hadn't made in years because we're getting out of the talking and the
head games.
Yeah. And we're getting into like the reality of what is here. Let's feel it. Let's express it. Let's allow it to come up.
Mm.
So
this next safety. What does that actually feel like in the body?
I love this question. I feel like I can explain it best as a female because I'm a female, as a woman. And I try my best to explain how men have described it, but also maybe like you can chime in too if you've found some things that you find when you're in safety. But for us women, anytime we feel safe, so you go to the fight or flight, the survival, right? You're like, I'm in danger or something. I got to look out for the guy at the grocery store or the man down the alley, right? So you're like, you're rigid, you're on guard, you're maybe stiff, like your defenses are up, you're like ready to fight or flight, take action, right? So when we feel safe to just be, it's the opposite. It's parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. The vagus nerve is activated, which is allowing all of the blood flow to be, the vessels are dilated instead of constricted. So it's allowing the blood to flow, which creates more moisture, more fluid. So it's like your mouth isn't dry, you're more hydrated. Your skin's going to be, healthier and shinier because you've got more flow. The biggest thing with women is I notice with the safety is like the ability for them to really relax the shoulders and the chest. And there's not so much tension or tightness in the heart space because you're not guarding or shielding around your heart. The hips are a lot softer. They're more malleable and flexible. You've got more movement through like yoga or weightlifting. The body just naturally softens. And then I always say warm, wet, open. So women who naturally feel safe in their bodies and naturally feel safe in just being in their feminine energy will be wet. And it's not like, and you can feel like a buzzing or a vibrating at the entrance of the vagina or we call it the yoni in Sanskrit, Tantra. So there will be like a buzzing or a spinning and can be like you're more wet or lubricated. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go be sexual or take that turn on or that buzzing to another level. I mean, you can, but it's definitely a sure way for women to know, oh, my root chakra is open. I'm safe in my body. The energy is spinning. It's open. I'm flowing. I'm relaxed. And then that just goes into sex and intimacy. So a lot of men are trying to conquer or perform or have sex with women from their head and like trying to get them to a goal of orgasm or pleasure or think they need to do this thing to them. But truly the art is if he can slow down and open and soften and relax into his hips, into his genitals and relaxing the anus, letting the heart out, just softening his body, it's naturally going to create this essence of safety for her and vice versa. I think women have a responsibility to create safety for men just as much as men strive to create it for women. And so I would say for you men, when you feel safe, like I notice your shoulders will drop down. You'll be less heavy and less stiff in your shoulders. Again, your hips are more relaxed. You've got more mobility and openness in the pelvis and the hips. And then there is kind of just like a relaxing and a settling in. You just feel more like vast or open, more spaciousness. Have you noticed when we've dropped into
Well, there's a safety
safety?
for sure. There's a safety of one, not being in an intimate relationship with you in that sense where it's like, okay, we know the boundaries are, there's no performance that needs to be done. There's no posturing or anything. It's just more of, I am open to understanding how you have found more safety, more openness, more awareness within yourself. And so I'm willing to be guided into this realm. And so there, versus if it's in an intimate relationship, it can, and you have a history of, hey, what's your angle here? If you're wanting to go down this realm, are you expecting sex? Are you expecting some sort of foreplay or whatever? And so that can easily close people off because there's an agenda, versus I'm wanting to work with you so that we can both feel safe.
Intimacy.
Yeah. And intimacy is not something, I mean, I'm almost 20 years into my relationship with my wife, and it's just now starting, which is great and sad at the same time. Yeah. But I would like to know also how in a session, how would you guide someone or
into safety?
Into safety?
So, for some of you, it's that deep belly breathing. It's the inhalation, filling up the belly. And then the exhale. It's slowing everything down. So there's no race. There's no agenda. There's no journey. It's a journey. There's no end goal. And the biggest thing is just guiding you guys into breath. And I will start to bring the energy all the way down to that root chakra. So I'm inviting you to breathe into your pelvis, into your anus, into your genitals, into the hips. And then with each breath, just relax and relax deeper. And for men, women too, though, men don't get touched very often. So just a gentle touch on you guys' shoulders when you're exhaling out, where I'll push down and out. And you're like, oh, I wasn't aware I was not relaxed, or I wasn't aware it was so stiff. So that's where the guide and the embodiment work is like, I'm using breath sound movement, and I'm using not a lot, I mean, sometimes more than others. I'm using intentional guided touch to touch places or speak to places or open places. And as you know, I've shared, I feel things in my body that other people are feeling. So that's one of my gifts and abilities that helps me take people deeper, is I can pick up where they're feeling rigid or stuck, or maybe an emotion or an age or something is there. And then I just will speak to it, or I'll have them breathe into it, and then it will soften. So, breath, sound, movement, and then touch is a way to help them create safety. And the biggest thing I tell my clients when they're in partnership or friendship or whomever they're relating with, become the energy that you're desiring them to get into. So if you're trying to get her to relax, you can't sit there and be stiff and talk to her and coach her into relaxing. If you just soften into a relaxing state and you open your heart and you soften your belly and you really like lean back and just let yourself melt into the couch or the chair, the floor, the bed, she's going to feel that. And then I'll say, sync your breath, breathing together, big belly breath helps you to, like the baby and the mom, right? She takes on the heart rate and they say that when you're in partnership, you sync. So you're taking on like your blood pressures, your heart rates, like her home frequency and your home frequency are really matched. But if you're not aware of your own energy, then you're not aware of what you're bringing in or taking or doing with each other if you're not paying attention to that attunement.
The idea of slowing down, we've talked about, and it's so counter to society and how we are inundated with information, and our livelihood is often put on the shoulders of performance and how quickly you can get it done. And so to then shift gears and be like, this work of embodiment or understanding what's going on in your body, connecting with yourself, connecting with your partner, is as much as intellectually, you could read about it. It's the main thing that for me that I've taken away is you just have to slow down, and it's not a race. And when you are in the midst of the busiest time in your life of middle age with kids and careers, etc., to find time or to set you have to be very intentional. And so I can see how some people, they might love the idea, but then in practice, it can be frustrating because it's like, this is taking too long, or let's just cut to the chase. And because we've been so ingrained with the orgasm as the end all be all. And rather than saying that is wonderful, that's great, there's so much more to this than you realize. And in order to do that, we have to begin to slow down and notice what's going on. And I can see that being a big hurdle for many people initially. Do you see that?
Yeah. I often will have couples that come back and they're like, yeah, we did it like one time and then I got triggered and I swore at him and cussed him out and I got up, or like he was trying to do this and yeah, or I was trying to do it with her, but she, it's just, but what it does is like when we slow down and we can just be with what is, it shows you everything that's there. So that's a lot of the work in the Tantra world and the work I do. People hear the word shadow work, or the unconscious parts of ourselves, the parts of us that like we haven't made aware or conscious yet. That's a lot of what all of this work is that's the point, is it's showing you where you're bypassing, or it's showing you where you're avoiding, or it's showing you where the discomfort is, or the intense trigger, or like wanting to put it at them instead of taking it on yourself. And so this work is not for the faint of heart. And that's why I don't try to sell to people or like reach out to people. It's very much a thing of, hey, I'm here, I market, I advertise with my website and social media, but I'm not out hunting down clients, because you have to be ready. And if once you're ready, then the work and the depth and the movement is powerful. It can be quick. It can be really, really embodied. Like it's not just something you're talking about, it's something you're really doing and shifting. And I often will have clients say, at first they can feel frustrated because they want to hurry up. They want to like, what's the bullet points? What's the task? Like, what are we doing? And I'm like, this takes time. It's an art. If you want to really change what you're doing, you have to stay like consistent and patient and in the process of it. And so, yeah, I would agree with you that it does bring up a lot. And I'll say, find a time, put it on the calendar. Or if you have a night where the energy just feels right and it naturally can happen, go and sit on the couch and drop in, or go lay in bed and like breathe and talk, or go sit outside on the porch. Like just be present with it. And then when one thing comes up, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is clearly a roadblock or a pattern or a cycle or a behavior for me. So let me just work with this one thing instead of trying to tackle multiple things, which a lot of us do. It's like, I'm struggling to be vulnerable right now, and I have a lot of heart walls up. I'm just going to practice sitting here with you, and I'm just going to breathe through the discomfort. I'm just going to and maybe there's tears that come up or emotion that comes up. I'm not going to judge it or shame it or try to make excuses or talk my way through why I'm feeling this way. It's like, just stay in my body, let myself feel and breathe, and let him or her just be a witness to my intimacy, seeing into me, my vulnerability. That's where the trust and the depth happens,
I'm smiling because I'm just thinking how we could try and multitask within this embodiment work of like, okay, I'm going to try and do 3 different things tonight versus picking one and sticking to the one. And so that's something that just popped in my head, where I could see myself having this whole line items of like, okay, here's all the things I'd like to accomplish tonight. It's like, just start with one, and if we even get there, that's great. Like, yeah. So drop the expectation and the time frame of how long this will take.
And the hardest part might be like, we just don't make time for it. So my homework will be, well, guilty. You have to make time for it. So your homework is to do it at least twice a week. And often they say planning like a tantric date night where you set aside a time, maybe the kids are with the grandparents or you have the house to yourselves. And it's like, let's just start with the breathing and the connecting. And maybe we don't have an agenda of how the night has to go. Maybe you share some desires. I share some desires. I share my fears or my insecurities. You share yours. And then let's dive in and then just slow it down. So when something comes up, you're not trying to rush over it. It's like, wait, let's pause. I'm noticing you're getting rigid, or I noticed you folded your arms when I started talking, or I noticed, and we'll go into more of that with the see, feel, and hear, which is a deeper way, but it's literally like taking it pieces at a time, which we're not taught
No.
to do. And once you can tackle some of those pivotal pieces, like I really build a foundation of nonviolent communication and intimacy and attunement and listening and feeling and really being present with each other. And once you guys can master that part of the attuning and the sensing each other's energies and kind of speaking to those in a really inviting, opening way, then all the other stuff just happens so much quicker. You'll get in a fight, and what would have been a whole day of being mad at each other, it's like, oh, wow, we've solved that in an hour of sitting and just being present with each other. So the gap is starting to narrow.
You've mentioned this several times, and I want to try and clarify for anyone that's listening that is familiar with the term Tantra, but they have been misinformed due to Western culture that will focus so much on the sexual part or the performance aspect of Tantra. So if you could briefly explain a little bit more on Tantra so that they might either maybe they're getting triggered because they're like, oh, I've heard of Tantra or I had a Tantra book and it's this, that, and the other. But I think it would be important for them to get a better grasp on what you mean by Tantra.
Yeah. And under the word Tantra, it's like an umbrella term. There's so many different, like you said, Western, there's Eastern. I tap into a lot of like ancient Egyptian stuff when I'm in Tantra work for myself. Just that's where I kind of stem it from. But Tantra, the word in Sanskrit means to weave or the weaving. It first starts with there's white Tantra and there's red Tantra. So red is like tantric sex and bringing in each other's energies and connecting with another person, versus white Tantra is just you're weaving your energies and your inner masculine and feminine with self. So a lot of it's starting first with the white Tantra of weaving and opening and softening and feeling and being with what is within yourself. And the more you can do that with yourself, the more you're able to do it with your children, with your coworkers, with your partner in life. I feel like Tantra it's a journey within yourself. So your relationship to how it relates for you is different, because some people are into studying Eastern, which is the deities, the gods, the goddesses, the chanting, the singing, the Kundalini yoga, the breathing, that part of the body. A lot of what I tap into is more like tantric embodiment, where you can read all the books and you can learn all the words and chant all the things, but I'm going to actually teach you, what does it mean to be in your feminine energy? What does it mean to be in your masculine energy? What does it mean if I'm balancing and weaving them? What does it mean to love it open? What does it mean to slow down and to breathe and to soften? So I would say if you're interested in Tantra, there's lots of different books. There is a tantric sex book, The Heart of Tantric Sex, which was a really beautiful, like slow beginning opener for couples. And you can do little exercises. It's a great book that's like a PG opener to Tantra. And then there's a lot of other Tantra books, Tantra Illuminated, The Ecstasy of Tantra. There's a lot of tantric practitioners that have written books that just study, like, it's basically relationship polarity and deep heart work, living from your core, living from that life force energy, that eroticism, that pleasure. And it's not, like you said, it's not sex. It's like, can I be in pleasure having a cup of coffee and reading the morning paper, or sitting in the sun, or watching the smoke billow from an incense stick? or
Yeah.
can I be in pleasure and totally turned on and on a hike by myself, feeling so connected to myself and my spirit and nature. Um, but a lot of religion and programming has taught us that our bodies aren't safe, and they've shamed us from pleasure, from just self-touch and self-pleasure as kids. So then we're disconnected from our pleasure from a very young age. And then we're taught that sex is only, or pleasure is only for sex and marriage from another person. And so then we wonder why so many men are walking around with this lusting, like, weird, uncomfortable, or like suppressed, awkward energy, because they haven't taught how to balance it and run it and be connected with it within themselves. And so Tantra brings back a lot of breath, sound, movement. Let's get in the body. What is here, and judging none of it, and getting curious and open and playful and soft with all of it. So
You mentioned judgment. So let's go to the sacred observer
yeah.
versus the judge. What do you mean by that?
It's a term that I kind of just created. So it's sacred observer is versus the judge. So sacred observer is, and when I say bringing in the word sacred, it's like, when I think of sacred, it's something that's like particular to you. It's
Personal?
unique, it's personal, it's vulnerable, maybe it's insecure, maybe it's shame, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's whatever, all these things that we judge. So sacred observer is, can I just be in my own self, my sacred through my sacred lens, my life experiences, my teachings, my believings, and the being that I am here now, and can I just take the energy back body, and can I just observe what's going on with in the room? Can I observe the people in the space? Can I observe you sitting here actively engaged, listening to me, fully present, like tuned in, connected, and just notice, right? I'm feeling this and he's seeming like this, or, you go to classes or retreats, or you go into the house with your kids and your wife, and you're like, why are they doing that? Or she's this and he's over here. We're constantly in judge. So when I say sacred observer, it's being able to take that tantric aspect or approach of, can I fully be here in my energy, heart-centered, open, soft, aware, alert, observing, and just allowing, like, oh, well, that's going on and that's kind of bothering me, and I wish she wasn't coloring on the wall right now, or, or I wish my wife would turn around and like give me a hug and give me some attention for a minute, whatever it is. Realizing, okay, I'm just going to observe and take note. And then that attunement piece of, okay, what am I projecting? What are the stories I'm telling myself? Why am I triggered? What's mine and what's his or hers? And then the judge aspect is the polar opposite of walking in as if I know it all, and my way is the only way. And it's front body energy, where like I'm not aware of myself, or I'm not taking ownership of my projection, my lens, my story. It's just like, oh, this is how it is. This is what I've been taught. This is what I think is right. So let me be front body and let me judge and analyze and try to like
Control.
fix and control, right? Versus when you're in sacred observer, it's that back body energy. Can I sit back? Can I take in what's going on? And can I become curious and compassionate and open about, well, sure, I don't like that. And I wish that, she would pay attention to this. But it's getting clear first with noticing myself. And then, okay, how do I engage or weave or open or relate and connect with what's going on? And can I invite my wife and I to maybe parent the kids differently? Or could I invite my children to, tune in and, hey, let's not do it this way, let's do it that way, right? So That's a big one I start with, is the sacred observer versus the judge.
And what
And
does that look like in a session if you were to address that?
so again, front body energy, where we'll be in a scenario or working through a process, and I'll say, okay, well, like, who's in the seat? Is it your, like, if you were to go into sacred observer and just go be in sacred observer this week and notice when you're in sacred observer, but then also notice when you're in judge. And it looks like sacred observer being the back body energy. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to take in the space. I'm going to notice what's mine. I'm going to notice what's theirs. And I'm going to get curious about, what is this teaching me, or where is this an opening for me to do some transformation work? And then the judge is like, okay, where are you being harsh and critical and controlling? And then really it is just starting to gather information for the first month or so of their cycles and their patterns, or their like projections, or their blaming or shaming within themselves, but also with their other relationships. And then we'll start diving deeper into, okay, were you able to move through that process? And like, could you show up in the observer and lean in and invite her in and have a conversation? Or did you notice like, oh shit, I wish I would have shown up differently. Like, I did what I did, but can I circle back or not and say, hey, you know, like, as I've sat back and observed myself, I was realizing I was kind of in judgment or projection or in my own trigger. I want to take accountability for this part. Here's what I noticed. Are you open for me to share what I'm picking up for you, or what's present for me?
How often do you run across this being harder for it would, from your observation and bubble that you've worked in,
Mm-hmm.
and would you say your clients, out of the men and women, who has a harder time with this? From my observation, I feel like women judge themselves harder than men. Is that accurate from your perspective, or no?
I would say yes, a little bit.
Okay.
So if we go into, if yes, there can be a common thread kind of with men and women that I see. And in my experience, it's mostly been these women who've been telling their husbands they need to do some inner work, or they need to, you know, figure out stuff in the bedroom or sex or whatever. And so they'll often seek me out or find me or come across my stuff.
So women are seeking you out to help fix their husband. Is that
No, it's more like they're putting their husband like, hey, you need to figure this out. And then their husbands oftentimes are like reaching out of like, hey, my wife is, you know, there, because the big thing with you men is you guys are doers, you're providers, you're naturally caretakers. So if you guys, and you guys like points, like you want to win. If you, two good books I could recommend for men and women. It's women for sure. Keys to the Kingdom and Queen's Code. It's two books, a series. Keys to the Kingdom is first. It's a book on relationships, and it's in storytelling. It's really great, but it's understanding men and how they operate and how they work. But there is like a point system. You guys like to score points. You like to be good. Like, let me do good. Let me do great. That performer part, like, let me win her over. Right. So a lot of men I find come and they want to figure out, how do I do this? Like, how do I do the thing to get the result that I'm wanting? And so I find with men that oftentimes it's the men are more willing to come in and like do the thing. And then it's often been the females that are like, oh, I am now seeing that I'm the problem because I'm terrified of taking down these heart walls and letting you in emotionally and vulnerably because I'm afraid of deep intimacy. But I want great sex, and I want you to be mindful, and I want you to be emotional, and I want you to be attuned, but it's like you can't get what you aren't willing to give. So that's been my experience, is it's been more of the women being more of the closed off, guarded ones and thinking their husbands are having issues with intimacy and sex. But then once their husbands are willing to come and they're willing to show up, then they're seeing, oh, shit, like it's not actually him, it's me I'm wanting to control or dictate how it happens, and he's just wanting to show up to make it happen. But it does go into attachment styles. We don't have to go deep into it but if you've read the book Attached or you're familiar with attachment, there's secure, and then there's avoidant and anxious, and then there's a dysfunctional, which is like anxious avoidant. It's a mix of both.
Me.
A lot of us have it. If you had one parent that was like, come here, and the other one's like, go away, go, it's like, what do I come? Do I go? Do I open? Do I not? And so it goes more into the attachment style of, does she or he have a desire? Like their way of having safety is they need to feel connected. And when you rip or rupture their cord of connection, they don't feel safe. And so they were constantly, as a child, trying to keep connection to the mother or the father by people pleasing or parentified child or overgiving or doing because they needed to stay connected or attuned to. Or was it so bad or so unmodeled to you that you're avoidant of deep connection and emotional intimacy, and someone really caring about me or me really caring about them is terrifying as hell. And so it's easier for me to stay an avoidant. So it can be male gender, man and woman, but often it comes down to, what was it like as a child for you with emotional intimacy and nurturing and love and expressing and feeling and emoting? And then that will determine oftentimes like where the partner is willing or not to lean in.
On this fourth topic, see, feel, and hear.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Okay, I love this one. So back to attuning, right? I'm noticing my breath and my body and my being and noticing you. And so it's a deeper way of, this attunement is more like reading the energy, right? You don't necessarily have to speak. You can walk in the house or walk in your studio here, and you can read your clients or read your children or wife. But with the see, feel, and hear, it's a deeper form of like nonviolent communication approach where we're again taking that accountability of knowing what's going on with me, where am I at, what am I feeling, what am I available or resourced for, and then where is he or she at, right? And so when I say see, feel, hear, I'll say, okay, when you're in a interaction or you're around the person you're relationshiping with, what I'm seeing is like reading you, right? I'm noticing you're attentive, your eyes are connected, you're sitting, your body's open. So you're reading them from visual. But then also, can you see me, or can I see you from like an energy? He feels calm, present, relaxed, listening. And then, so it's walking in the kitchen, my wife, I'm seeing what she's doing. So that's the attuning, you're reading her. And then you come back to self. Okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling like maybe one of the kids, she's at her wit's end with one of our children. She's tapped out. She's anxious. She's vigorously scrubbing the dishes. She's clearly in her head. She's not in her body, right? So feeling her. And then here, we often have projections or judgments of what we think is going on. So it's like, okay, I'm walking in, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I've had a good day, I have enough juice or resource to take over for the rest of the night. I can put the kids in bed, I can do dinner, I can clean up, like tuning in with self, right? What am I available for? Walk in the house and she seems overwhelmed. So your approach would then be, as most men do, go to head. So you're going to start maybe saying something to her like, oh shit, however you respond to her being in that state. And instead it's like, okay, can I create the energy, or can I become the thing that I'm wanting? So I'm wanting her to relax and soften. So can I get into soft and relaxed? Seeing myself, feeling her, walk over to her. Maybe I touch her. Maybe I wait for her to turn toward me. Maybe I give her a hug, And then you can say here, like, okay, babe, so I'm feeling like you feel a little overwhelmed. I notice, whatever's going on in the house, what's going on for you? Like, what's happening? So that's here. Like, let me see what I'm doing, see myself. Let me feel into her or feel into them, and then come back to like, okay, let's attuning, bring this full circle. I want to hear, like, tell me what's going on for you. How can I support you? Where are you at? What's coming up? And that's dropping in or attuning, right? And so when they're sitting in the space where I'll literally say, okay, I want you guys to sit knee to knee or slightly separated. And I want you guys to breathe and sync breath. I want you to attune to yourself and then tune to each other. And then I'd love for you to check in. So giving her the mic. What is she seeing? What is she feeling? What is she hearing with you? And then you share back. Well, that's not actually what's going on. This is what's happening. And I'm frustrated with this. And it's not the kids. It's actually this thing with work, because we think we know. And then vice versa. Okay, well, what's going on with you? I'm seeing that you're this. I'm feeling this. Tell me, can I hear what's present for you? So it's a quick, like 3-word to tune in to say, okay, how can I change my approach? And how can I invite both of us in instead of calling each other out?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Were you having your own dialogue of like, oh, I can see where I can use this, or oh, this is coming up, or what was coming up for you with sharing?
So with this embodiment, my next question would be, what is something that your body has taught you that your mind couldn't?
Ooh. The biggest thing I would say is my intuition of like what's true. What is really my yes and my no? Because I have, right? We've got stories, we've got projections, we've got all these past experiences happening. And so when I'm talking or experiencing or relationshiping, I can listen to what someone's saying and I can hear them, but I'm always feeling, okay, they're saying this, but that actually doesn't feel true. Or they say they're fine, but they don't feel fine. Or when I walk into an experience or relationship or friendships or space, constantly listening to my body, it will speak first. When someone, walks into a room or I walk into a room, it's like I might look at them and read them, but immediately I'm like, well, what did my body do first? Right? Did I feel this weird, awkward, like creepy vibe from this guy, but then he seemed nice, so I bypassed it and I just let it go. But it's like later I'm like, I knew it. Right? When you have that feeling, you're like, I should have listened. So I would say that my body has taught me like my truth, my what's out of alignment. When I'm anxious, it's like, okay, where am I saying yes when I should be saying no? Or when I'm feeling depressed and just like super self-judgment and shame, it's like, okay, well, when have I last gone and like got outside and got into nature or moved my body or gotten back in touch with my body so I can get clear on like what's real and what's trauma or pain body, right?
Mm.
So I would say probably that. And the biggest thing too with therapy is like talk therapy works, EMDR, ART, people doing all this ketamine crap that I'm not a huge fan of. It works for a time. It helps kind of rewrite those neural pathways, right? But the body holds all of our experiences. It holds the memory of the time we were 8 and our dad did that thing and we were terrified or we knew there was immediate shame and it was imprinted in the body. So when you can go into the body and breathe and feel like it doesn't lie, it's going to bring up what's there. And then that's the safety piece of creating the openness and the patience and the love of like, okay, can I just be with this? And what is it telling me? What is it showing me? What is true? But so many of us have been taught to leave our bodies before we're probably 5.
I don't think we're even aware that we've left our body,
Oh, yeah. 100%.
at least for me.
Oh, yeah. And that's the fun thing. Like when you guys get in session and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so relaxed and like I'm feeling wet and I'm this and that. I'm like, yeah, you're in your body.
Hmm.
And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah. How often are you here? And
Not
it's
often
gotten
enough.
to a place where me and my girlfriends, it's like we can tell each other when we're like, hey, you seem dissociated, or like you don't seem like you feel like you're really in your body. Like we will talk to each other with that language because we now can like read it and sense it.
Hmm. One thing I love the sessions I've worked with you is you also are really good at sending, when the session's over, it's not over. There's a continual conversation that's happening where you're like, hey, I listened to this podcast. I think you'd really like it. And the things that you've sent me, I've really enjoyed. And so thank you for that.
Yeah.
If someone listening is intrigued and would like to contact you, what's the best way that they would get in contact with you?
You can go on my website, www.starknkd, so you're just missing the A and the E from naked, .com. Or again, my handle on Instagram is stark.nkd on Instagram. And I should reactivate my Facebook, but I'm very much an in-person person, an energy person. So social media and all the tech stuff is just like, I do it because I have to, but I'm not on Facebook currently. So yeah, my website, you can reach out, work with me. There's like an email you can send, or DM me on social media. Like I said, I'm not searching or selling to clients. I mean, I put stuff out and I speak things, but I'm very much a believer that, when you feel called to the medicine, you find the shaman or you find what feels drawn. You don't see shamans, at least real ones, searching you out to come do medicine. It's like when you're ready for the medicine, you'll find it. So if you feel called, if you feel intrigued, reach out. I have a lot of people that have said they've followed me for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've been like, okay, I'm ready. Or, oh, when I first started following you, I was like, my husband cannot see her page. Like, I was so triggered by stuff or whatever, right? Or like I was
Because it's
inspired,
too
but I was
sexual or
triggered. Like
too.
just like some of the stuff I post, I guess. But then also, like I've got photos on there of me like in the branding of Stark Naked, where there is like embodiment of sensual or sexual or me screaming or crying, or like there's very felt artistic photography pieces. I did that on purpose on there. And so I think for some women, they're like, they've said that to me, like, yeah, I didn't want my husband to see your Instagram. I'm like, that's so funny and weird, but okay. Like that's your thing. That's not mine. So last thing I wanted to say on closing out the safety piece that I didn't share is when I teach my clients with safety, and you'll find it for yourself. And honestly, is the world of sex and triggers and relationships, like safety is not really real. Like we're not truly safe if you think about it. Because if you go into an experience with your wife or your husband and you have an intention for it to go really well, how often does sometimes it ends up like really not well, right? He gets triggered, she gets triggered, something goes off or whatever. And then it's like, I'm done.
So the
Get off of
expectation
me.
is what's ruining
Yeah.
it.
So it's like the world of like life is not safe. It's not predictable. We can't control it.
So the
Sex
uncertainty
and relationships are not safe. You can't guarantee that if I marry this woman, it's never going to end. Or if I date this guy, it's going to go perfectly, right? So safety is really only like you learning how to find what's safe for you. And it's not anyone's responsibility to make you feel safe per se. Yes, they can either be safe or unsafe with themselves. And that will kind of gauge, okay, this person feels safe for me to be safe with, safe to express or safe to be intimate with. And so the safety piece is, how do I know if someone's safe? How I gauge it is, and I'm going to butcher this now, I just said out loud. Am I self-aware, self-accountable, and self-reflective? So can I be aware that I had a part in that experience or in that relationship or in that sexual encounter? Can I circle back and self-reflect of like, oh yeah, you're right, I could have been softer with that, or I could have paused and checked in with that? And then can I be self-accountable to say, hey, I want to circle back about our experience last weekend. Like I'm having some awarenesses or some things come up and I want to talk about, this experience. Here's where I felt like I could have done better. I want to take accountability for this. I felt like when I did this, you kind of had this experience. Like, I'm self-accountable. I can self-reflect. I'm self-aware enough to say, hey, I want to have a conversation. I want to clear the air. And so for me, when I'm setting expectations, I don't want to use the word expectation. When I'm setting container with my friendships or my relationships or even with clients, like there has to be a sense of, hey, we're going to have stuff come up. There's going to be triggers. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be emotions because that's relationshiping and being human. Um, here's where I can show up and here's how I will address things. And if there's an issue or if you're feeling something, like I'm open for you to come to me and talk about it. Like I will blatantly say that, let me set the standard that if you're triggered or you're upset, I'm approachable to come and talk to. Like I can handle conflict resolution. I can handle uncomfortable conversations. I can handle you being triggered and I can validate your experience while still staying true to mine. So I think for a lot of men and women, it's like we want him or her to create safety for us.
Yeah.
Right? You need to do this, 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 and this. But are we asking ourselves, if I'm asking him to do this for me, am I doing it for myself? And am I willing to do it for him?
I like that.
Yeah. So it's such beautiful work. I mean, I can't put a price tag on the richness and the beauty and like the power of what I've had clients share with me in their evolution and in their growth. And because this work is so personal and so vulnerable, we talk about infidelity and we talk about sexual abuse and we talk like everything is on the table. We can drop into any of it. I don't often like share videos or I don't share what's going on behind the scenes, which can make it hard for what is she doing or what does she do?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, it's so private and personal that it's not okay to share it or like put it out there. But I just want to say that I can't put a price tag on this work, like the power of what happens and the shifting and the moving and the embodiment. Like it's such a beautiful felt experience just to say that was priceless. Like for you to be able to overcome that thing or work through that thing, like, you know?
I would say for me, out of all the things that I have distracted myself with over the course of my life, I always come back to realizing that whatever it is externally outside of myself, it usually loses its shininess very quickly. And then I'm left to then continue to chase. And so by turning more inward, being more reflective and asking myself more difficult questions, attempting to be more intimate, but failing miserably for a long time and really wanting to recommit in a lot of ways, that for me has breathes so much more possibility and experience that I'm really looking for, that these external things really haven't ever given me. But through marketing and through conditioning and stuff, that's what it's portraying. You will be more fulfilled and loved and desired when you obtain and have and look at this. And ultimately, I'm realizing more and more as I'm engaging in this that those external things, although can connect you to yourself, ultimately you're always left back with you. And at the beginning of even starting this podcast, it's, what's that relationship like with yourself? Because it's the one that you are guaranteed to have the rest of your life. And you are always there. And so how important it is to actually start to understand, well, how am I treating myself? How am I looking at this person that is, or soul, or whatever you want to call it? And is it the way that I want to be conducting my life, or have I been really unconscious and just kind of running on autopilot for so long and waking up to the frantic chase that we're so often sold as the way to be. So I would say that I would agree wholeheartedly that it is priceless, also really hard at times and chaotic, uncomfortable, but thrilling too.
Yeah, because to the depth you can feel pain, it's like that's the depth you can feel love or pleasure or joy. And a lot of people don't understand, like, I want to feel more love and more happiness and more pleasure. And they want all these good feelings. And I'm like, well, the polarity of that is all the stuff that you're not feeling that's quote unquote bad: sadness, grief, anger, judgment, shame, guilt. Like, go feel those things and move through them. So there's spaciousness and openness for what you want to really fill your life with and fill your relationships with. And that's the polarity work with Tantra. There's always a light and a shadow, or light and dark, to every situation. It's like, okay, where's the gift and where is the shadow here? And can you thank the shadow or the thing that you didn't want to happen, because look what happened, that wouldn't have occurred. It's like the yin and the yang, the polarities. We can't have one without the other.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And just to lean into the intimacy thing, it really is. It's not sex. It's not sexualized. It's not sex. You and I are sitting here having an intimate conversation and being intimate with each other. And, it doesn't have to just be a sex. I think a lot of women and men get it twisted that, well, if I start opening up and like being intimate and dropping in with him, and there is touching or connecting or like heart shares, then it means that it has to lead to sex, or that I'm only doing this because I want to have sex with her, or I'm only touching her or loving on her because I want to have sex with her, right? So letting people know the intimacy it's like, sometimes it's more powerful and more a desire for me to be like deeply intimately seen and heard and felt and connected with someone than to go have sex with somebody. It's like, I'm actually desiring this. And I think a lot of us we're chasing sex, and we're chasing orgasm, and we're chasing money and external validations and highs, because ultimately, like, we just want to be felt and seen and met. But we're also very terrified of, until you meet yourself intimately and go deep with yourself intimately, you can't have that intimacy with your partner, because they're just mirroring back to you all the parts of you that you're running from, that you're projecting onto them.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Hilary, thank you so much for coming back a second
Absolutely.
time, and for suggesting, like, hey, I'd love to go about it a slightly different way, because this was a beautiful conversation and I really enjoyed it. So thank you for coming back on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.